Good evening, friends. Tonight I am going to share with you what I consider to be the ultimate secret of manifestation. Not a technique, not a method, not a practice you perform and then set aside. Tonight I am going to show you how to completely transform yourself from the person who wants into the person who has, from the person who hopes into the person who knows, from the person who is becoming into the person who already is. Tonight, you will learn what I call the identity shift, the complete transformation of who you are at the deepest level of consciousness. Now, I must be very clear with you from the beginning. This is not about pretending. This is not about acting a role upon a stage. This is about actually becoming a different person, the person who already possesses everything you desire. This is the culmination of everything I have ever taught. This is living in the end, taken to its ultimate expression. This is the secret that once truly understood and applied, it makes manifestation not merely possible, but inevitable, effortless, and dare I say it, instant. Let me show you the fundamental problem that prevents most manifestations from ever occurring. Every morning you wake up and immediately become the same person you were yesterday. You think the same thoughts. You feel the same feelings. You see yourself in exactly the same way. You occupy the same identity. You may practice techniques. You may visualize. You may affirm. But then you return to being you, the old you, the familiar you, the you who does not yet have what you desire. And here is the truth. I want you to hear clearly tonight that old you cannot have your desire. Why? Because that identity, that deep sense of self, is simply not compatible with having your desire. Consider the person who is poor. They cannot experience wealth, not because wealth is unavailable to them. Wealth is available to everyone, but because being poor is their identity. Entire consciousness is organized around the state of being poor. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption, every expectation flows naturally from the identity of a poor person. Now consider the person who is lonely. They cannot experience love, not because love is unavailable, but because being lonely is their identity. Everything about how they see themselves, how they move through the world, how they relate to others, it all flows from the identity of a lonely person. The person who is sick cannot experience health. The person who is a failure cannot experience success. A person who is limited cannot experience freedom. Why is this? Because identity is destiny. Who you are determines what you experience. As long as you keep being the old you, the you who does not have your desire, you will keep experiencing the life of that old identity. This is why techniques alone do not work. You can visualize wealth while being, in your deepest sense of self, a poor person. You can affirm love while being, in your deepest sense of self, a lonely person. But the visualization and the affirmation are temporary. Identity is constant, and consciousness, always, returns to creating from your dominant identity. The secret, then, is not to practice techniques as the old you, hoping to somehow attract something new. The secret is to become someone new, someone who already has what you desire, as a natural, settled, unquestioned part of who they are now. Before I teach you how to shift your identity, let me make very clear what identity actually is. Because most people confuse identity with labels, and labels are not identity. Identity is not your name. It is not your job title. It is not your social role. These are merely labels, convenient tags we attach to ourselves in the outer world. Identity is your deep, fundamental sense of who you are. It is the answer to the question, who am I? Lives beneath all the surface answers. Identity is composed of several things. There is your self-concept, how you see yourself, what you believe about yourself, what you take completely for granted as true about who you are. There is your self-image, the mental picture you carry of yourself, the way you see yourself in your mind's eye. There is your self-talk, that constant internal dialogue that runs beneath the surface. Saying things like, I am the kind of person who there is your emotional baseline, the default feelings that characterize your everyday experience of simply being you. Do you generally feel confident or insecure, abundant or lacking, loved or rejected? This baseline is identity expressing itself as feeling. There are your expectations, what you automatically assume will happen to you, based on who you believe yourself to be. People like me always, or things like that don't happen to someone like me. These expectations are identity speaking, and there are your behavioral patterns, how you automatically act, respond, and move through the world based on who you think you are. All of these components together create your identity. And this identity is what consciousness uses as its template for your experience. If your identity is, I am someone who struggles, consciousness faithfully creates struggle. If your identity is, I am someone who is blessed, consciousness faithfully creates blessings. Your identity is not merely one of the factors in manifestation, it is the factor. It is the state you occupy most constantly, most deeply, most fundamentally. This is why I say to you, if you wish to change your life, you must change your identity. Now let me show you exactly how to discover who you need to become in order to have your desire. The principle is simple, though its implications are profound. You need to become the person who already has your desire, not the person who is trying to get it, not the person who hopes for it, not the person who is diligently working toward it, the person who has it right now as simply and naturally as you presently have your own name. Let me show you how to find this person. Close your eyes right now and imagine yourself having your desire completely and fully. See yourself living in that reality, not imagining it from the outside as a spectator, but actually being that person from within. Now ask yourself these questions and answer them honestly. Who is this person? Not what do they have, but who are they? How does this person see themselves? What is their self-concept? What do they believe about themselves? How does this person feel on a normal, ordinary day? What is their emotional baseline? What feelings are natural to them, not forced, not practiced, but simply natural? What does this person expect from life? What do they take for granted? What seems entirely normal to them? How does this person think? What thoughts move through their mind? What do they focus upon? What do they simply not bother noticing? How does this person speak? What words do they use? What tone do they carry? What fills their conversations? How does this person make decisions? What criteria do they use? What feels right to them? How does this person carry themselves physically? How do they walk? How do they sit? What is their energy? What is their presence in a room? As you answer these questions, honestly, you are discovering the identity of the person who has your desire. You are meeting your future self, the you who already lives in the fulfilled state. This is who you must become. Not someday, not gradually, over months of careful preparation. Now, completely, totally. Now, let me now teach you the exact process of shifting your identity, of dying to the old self and being reborn as the new self. I say these words deliberately. This is not a metaphor. This is an actual transformation that occurs in consciousness. When you truly shift your identity, you are not the same person anymore. You have become someone new. The first phase is letting go of who you have been. You cannot become someone new while you are still clinging to the old identity. This requires recognition and release. Sit quietly and acknowledge this truth to yourself. I have been living as a person who does not have my desire. I have identified as someone who is poor or lonely or sick or unsuccessful or limited. This identity has created my experience. This identity is not who I truly am. It is simply a state I have been occupying. And I now choose consciously, deliberately, to leave this state. Feel the weight of the old identity. Feel how heavy it has been to carry this limited sense of self. Feel how genuinely exhausting it has been to be that person day after day after day. Then release it consciously, willingly. I let go of this old identity. I am no longer that person. That version of me dies now. I release every thought, every feeling, every assumption that belonged to that old self. I'm done being that person. Now, this may feel uncomfortable. Your old identity has been with you for years, perhaps, for your entire life. There may be fear in letting it go, even though it has brought you nothing but limitation. It is entirely normal. But you must be willing to die to the old self. You must be willing to let go of who you have been in order to become who you choose to be as you release the old identity. You may feel a sense of emptiness, a void. Good. This is the space between identities. This is the fertile ground where the new self will be planted and will grow. Now comes the most important part, claiming your new identity. You do not gradually become the new person. You do not slowly ease your way into it over weeks of careful transition. You claim the new identity now, completely, totally. Say with absolute conviction, not hope, not effort, absolute conviction. I am the person who has my desire, not becoming, not hoping to become. Right now, in this moment, I claim this new identity as my truth. Then describe your new identity in complete detail, in the present tense, as absolute established fact. I am wealthy. I am the kind of person who has abundant resources. Money flows to me naturally. I expect prosperity. I feel financially free. This is who I am. I am loved. I am the kind of person who is desired, cherished, adored. I attract love effortlessly. I expect beautiful relationships. I feel deeply connected. This is who I am. I am healthy. I am the kind of person whose body is strong and vital. Health is my natural state. I expect wellness. I feel energized and whole. This is who I am. I am successful. I am the kind of person who achieves their goals. Opportunities come to me. I expect to win. I feel capable and confident. This is who I am. Do you see how different this is from ordinary affirmation? You are not trying to convince yourself of something you do not yet believe. You are declaring who you are. You are claiming an identity. You are being someone. This is not future. This is not hope. This is present reality. Now comes the practice, and I want you to understand that this practice is not a technique you perform for 20 minutes each morning. It's something far more total than that. You must live as this new person, not occasionally, not only during your morning meditation, all the time. Every thought must come from the new identity. Every word must come from the new identity. Every decision must come from the new identity. Every action must come from the new identity. This is what living in the end truly means. It means living as the person who has the end being that person, thinking their thoughts, feeling their feelings, making their choices. Let me walk you through how this looks in the practical flow of an ordinary day. The moment you wake, before you open your eyes, ask yourself, who am I? And answer, I am the person who has my desire. Do not wake up as the old you. Do not return automatically to the old identity, as though putting on yesterday's clothes. Wake up as the new person. Claim that identity immediately, before the world has a chance to remind you of who you used to be. Then get out of bed as that person. Brush your teeth as that person. Dressed as that person. Everything you do as the person who already has your desire. Throughout the day, think from the new identity. Monitor your thoughts, not with anxiety, but with gentle awareness. Ask yourself, is this thought coming from the old identity or the new? Old identity. I hope I can afford this. New identity. I choose how to spend my abundant resources. Old identity. I wonder if they like me. New identity. I am loved. Of course, they appreciate me. Old identity. What if this doesn't work? New identity. I am successful. Things work out for me. Every time you catch an old identity thought arising, stop. That thought does not belong to who you are anymore. Replace it with a thought that comes naturally from the new identity, not forced, not strained, natural. Throughout the day, speak from the new identity. Listen to the words that leave your mouth. Are you speaking as the old person or the new? The old identity says, I'm broke. I'm so lonely. I never get what I want. Things are always hard for me. The new identity says, I'm blessed. I'm loved. I always land on my feet. Life supports me. Your words reveal your identity at every moment. Change your words, and you continuously reinforce the new identity you have claimed. Throughout the day, decide from the new identity. When you face choices what to eat, how to spend your time, how to respond to a difficult situation, ask yourself, what would the person who has my desire choose right now? Then choose that, not because you are pretending, not because you are performing a technique, because that is who you are now. You are that person. You make their choices because you are them. Throughout the day, act from the new identity. How would the wealthy person carry themselves? Carry yourself that way. How would the loved person interact with others? Interact that way. How would the healthy person treat their body? Treat your body that way. How would the successful person approach a challenge? Approach your challenges that way. You are not imitating someone outside yourself. You are this person. Act naturally, freely, easily as this person. In the evening, before sleep, reinforce the new identity one final time. Review your day as the new identity. Were there moments when you slipped back into old patterns? Revise those moments in your imagination. See yourself having responded from the new identity instead. Then fall asleep as the person who has your desire. Let the new identity be the last conscious impression you carry into sleep. Subconscious will work through all the hours of the night to solidify and deepen this identity. Now, let me tell you about the feeling that accompanies a true identity shift, because this is how you will know whether the shift has genuinely occurred. When you successfully become the new person, there is a specific quality of feeling that arises. It is not excitement. It is not the giddy hopefulness of someone who thinks something wonderful might happen. It is not the effortful straining of someone who is trying very hard to believe something. It is a deep, calm, settled sense of being. You feel like yourself, not like you are pretending to be someone else, not like you are playing a role. You feel genuinely, naturally, completely like you, except that you are a different you. The you who has your desire. It feels normal, it feels right, it feels. And this is the word I want you to notice. It feels like coming home to yourself. This is how you know the identity shift has occurred. When being the person who has your desire feels more natural than being the old person who did not have it. At first, I grant you, a new identity may feel unfamiliar, like wearing a new garment that has not yet shaped itself to your body. That is entirely normal. Keep being this person regardless. Keep thinking, speaking, deciding, and acting from this identity, and gradually, often surprisingly quickly, the new identity becomes comfortable. Then it becomes natural. Then it simply becomes you. And the new identity feels like you, not like someone you are trying to be, but like who you actually are. The shift is complete. And manifestation follows as naturally as morning follows the night. Let me now explain why this approach is so vastly more powerful than any technique I have ever taught or that anyone has ever taught. Techniques are things you do. Identity is who you are. You can do a technique for 20 minutes and then stop doing it, and you have. But you cannot stop being who you are. Identity is constant. It operates not for 20 minutes each morning, but for 24 hours every day. It's the underlying state from which everything else in your life flows. When you shift your identity, you are not changing one aspect of your consciousness. You are changing the very foundation from which consciousness creates your experience. A person who is wealthy does not need to visualize wealth. They naturally think wealthy thoughts. They naturally make wealthy decisions. They naturally expect wealthy outcomes, naturally feel wealthy feelings. Their wealth manifests automatically because it flows naturally from who they are. The person who is loved does not need to affirm love. They naturally think loved thoughts, naturally make loved decisions. They naturally expect loving encounters. They naturally feel loved feelings. Love manifests automatically because it flows naturally from their identity. This is why identity shift creates effortless manifestation. You are no longer trying to manifest. You are simply being yourself, and your new self naturally and inevitably creates experiences that match who it is. Now, let me reveal something to you about two specific words. Words. I consider the most creative and powerful words in existence. The words are simply I am, are the two most creative words in the human language. They are, if I may say it, the signature of God Himself. When God reveals His name, He says, I am that I am. And every single time you say I am, you are declaring your identity. You are telling consciousness, telling the creative power within you who you are. And consciousness creates from who you are, faithfully, without question, without exception. I am poor creates poverty. I am wealthy creates wealth. I am alone creates loneliness. I am loved creates love. I am sick creates sickness. I am healthy creates health. Whatever follows, I am becomes your experience. That's why. Because you are declaring your identity, and identity determines experience always, without exception. This is why I urge you to be extremely careful what you place after the words I am. Never say, I am followed by anything you do not wish to experience. Never identify yourself with limitation, with lack, with sickness, with failure, with any unwanted state, not casually in conversation, not even as a passing thought. Instead, use I am to claim your new identity constantly, deliberately, powerfully. I am abundant. I am loved. I am healthy. I am successful. I am blessed. I am whole. I am free. These are not hopeful statements about a future you are working toward. These are declarations of your present identity. And your present identity creates your present and your future experience. Right now, in this very moment, I want you to make the shift. Ask yourself, who is the person who already has everything I desire? Who are they? See this person clearly. Feel this person from within. Know this person as yourself. Now make the declaration. I am this person, not becoming, not hoping to become. I am, right now in this moment. This is who I am. Feel the shift happen. Feel yourself dying to the old identity and being born again, if you will, as the new identity. This is not gradual. This is now then. Rise from wherever you are sitting and move as this new person. Walk as them, think as them, be them. From this moment forward, you are no longer who you were. You are who you choose to be, the person who already has everything you desire. And this is not pretending. This is not acting. This is identity shift. This is becoming. This is transformation in consciousness. And when you truly become this new person, when you genuinely shift your identity at the deepest level, manifestation is no longer something you do. It is simply what happens naturally when you are being yourself. Let me leave you with a declaration one. I want you to make daily, with full conviction, until the new identity is so permanent that you never need make it again. I am not who I was. I have died to the old self and been reborn as my true self. I am the person who has everything I desire. This is not a hope or a wish. This is my identity. This is who I am. I think from this identity. I speak from this identity. I decide from this identity. I act from this identity. I feel from this identity. I am no longer becoming, have become. And as I am this person, my world transforms to reflect who I am, not because I am striving to manifest, but because consciousness creates from identity. And my identity is now the person who has everything I desire. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am healthy. I am successful. I am free. I am whole. I am blessed. This is not future. This is now. This is who I am. And I rest in this truth. Say this every day. Live this every moment. Be this constantly. And watch as your entire life transforms. Not because you manifested it through some elaborate technique, but because you became the person who naturally, simply, effortlessly lives that life. I promise you this, and I do not offer promises lightly. If you truly shift your identity, if you genuinely, from the depths of your being, become the person who has your desire must manifest. Not might, not hopefully, must. Because identity is destiny. Who you are determines what you experience always, without exception. The old you could not have your desire. But you are not the old you anymore. The new you, the person you have now become naturally, automatically, inevitably has your desire. It is not something you need to go out and get. It is something that simply comes with being who you are. Become the person. The life follows automatically. This is the ultimate teaching. This is the final secret.